It is 2-0. Boston protecting home court, taking game 2, 114-107. This was a game that looked far different at the 10-minute mark, with Brooklyn out in front 93-85. But the Nets get outscored 29-17 in the fourth quarter to suffer their second straight loss in this series. Leading the way for the Celtics, well, everybody. 6 players in double figures. Brown with 22, Tatum with 19. Nobody really jumping off the box score at you. Kevin Durant did have 27, but 18 of those points came at the charity stripe. Another tough night from the field for Slim, as Brooklyn will now head home trailing 2-0. CBS NBA insider Bill Reiter in studio to break it down. Bill, I want to throw those numbers at you once again here. 93-85 at the 10-minute mark. This game well in hand throughout the night for Brooklyn, led by as many as 17 in the first half. What'd you see coming down the stretch that really changed the momentum of this game and kept that momentum in Boston's favor for this series?
Yeah, it really felt like the entire series was gonna flip in terms of momentum. Brooklyn was in control. They looked like that dominant team we came to expect. But a lot of the offensive production they were getting as they took that lead came from some of the other guys that are not the superstars. And I think we all expected, and certainly Brooklyn needed, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to take over and be the difference makers and carry them down the stretch. And even if the box score says something different for Kevin Durant, both those guys were atrocious offensively. They were inefficient, and they simply weren't able to live up to the expectations. You're the star, and you got to bring this home.
KD and Kyrie, 8 of 30 combined from the floor. A lot of empty possessions coming off the hand of those two. We talked about it pregame, sort of the stop ball offense, you go, I go. Did you see anything different here? Was it just struggles from the field, different from game one, or some of the same?
You know, we saw, when you and I talked about this, there was a lot of ball movement early in the game as Brooklyn built that lead. Kyrie Irving didn't score a lot of points early on. Kevin Durant, again, wasn't that impactful, but they were moving the ball and other guys were contributing. And at the end of the game, they went away from that. We've discussed that they run more ISO plays than any team in the NBA over the course of this season by a wide margin. Those ISO plays are for Kevin Durant, for Kyrie Irving. Normally, one of those two guys at least get it going. We saw that from Kyrie in game one. Neither guy could do it. They didn't revert back to moving the ball. They wanted it to be KD or Kyrie who could try to be the hero. Neither were able, and you saw just bad possession after bad possession as a result.
You are the Brooklyn Nets. You have 2 of the top, let's say, 15 players in the world on your roster. The expectation is clear, but this is no normal first-round series between these two. It's really got late season, late series type intensity to it. And I want to outline what the Celtics were able to do at the defensive end. Here we see some of that stop ball sort of defense, if you will, with them putting the pressure on the stars for Brooklyn. What have you seen out of that defensive effort here? Because a lot of the numbers are similar when it comes to the offensive output. What did Boston accomplish here on the defensive end this night?
You cannot, historically in the NBA, be bad defensively in the regular season and then just flip the script and change in the postseason. Boston is a great defensive team, and they've been incredibly physical in this series. And I know there's been some complaining. Brooklyn Nets fans who are in this building and some of the players on that Nets team have been obviously very frustrated with the physicality of the series. That's postseason basketball. The game is different. Rotation shortened. Defense is more important, and guys are going to be physical. And you haven't been able to see Brooklyn be able to match that physicality over the course of the whole game. They were really good, I thought, the first quarter, Brooklyn on the defensive end. They're playing against a great defense. We've discussed the fact that if Brooklyn were to win the whole thing this year, and there's still a ways to go, doesn't look likely, we'll see what happens, they'd be the second worst defense in the history of the NBA to do so. They're playing a great defense. They're not a great defense. It's a major problem.
Yeah, the effort was there early, but it wavered down the stretch, and for the Celtics, 48 minutes end to end, they brought it. Let's talk about the C's on the offensive end, those 6 players in double figures. To be able to be that balanced offensively, what does that allow a team to do at this point in the season?
Yeah, it makes it really difficult for a good defensive team to know how to stop you, especially a bad defensive team. Jason Tatum is the star of the Celtics team. Didn't have an overwhelming offensive night. So what happened? About second quarter, Jaylen Brown several times just took possession of the game, attacked the rim, and was able to get out there and get some huge buckets to help that team climb back into the game. You're talking about a guy in Marcus Smart, more of a defensive player, was awesome offensively when they needed him to be, even with a little bit of a thumb injury that he picked up over the course of the game. That balance means that when one of your guys, your star, isn't at the top of his game, there's someone else to fall back on. Boston had it, Brooklyn didn't.
All right, so here's when coaching comes into play at a series. You're down 0-2, going back home, a place where you struggle throughout the regular season, but as you said in the green room, those numbers skewed a little bit by Kyrie's inavailability throughout that home schedule this year. But You've given us a good peek into who Steve Nash is as the individual. What is he saying to this team to try and spark something heading home?
I mean, what I'd love him to say is let's move the basketball and not constantly go to ISO play, but that's what they've done. The message is this. Last year's NBA champion, he is going to tell his guys, the Milwaukee Bucks, lost the first 2 games of a series to us and ended up winning the whole thing. It's not done. It's not over. We got to fight in game 3 like our entire season is on the brink, because it is. But if we win this game, we can win this series. If we win this series, we can win the whole thing. That's the message, but they need more defense. They need their stars to show up. And they, frankly, Steve Nash, since he's the coach, can dictate this. They need to run some offensive plays that don't involve give the ball to KD or give the ball to Kyrie and let them go into a double team and see what they can do.
It is not over, but if history tells us anything, it kind of is. The Celtics 40-1 as a franchise when leading 2 games to none in a playoff series. We'll see if Brooklyn can turn it around come Saturday. Bill Reiter, thank you. Taking a look at that series schedule, and maybe this is all that's necessary. Game 3 in Brooklyn, Saturday, 7:30 Eastern. Game 4, got to expect a better offensive effort once again from Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. We said that coming out of Game 1. Here we say it again coming out of Game 2. We'll see what changes when Saturday rolls around.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.